Hello and welcome to another Dota game where I try and pretend that my voice isn't really annoying. Wow, that's an ugly set for Lion. Well, collection. Either way, I will say, reviewing my own footage for games is a trial, to put politely. It is infuriating. It just sounds miserable. And I say this because I magically intuited that there would be a pause at the start of the game, so I can just waffle on about a bunch of nonsense as the game starts. So, back to the nonsense. No, looking at the game, it seems like I can't quite tell lanes from just looking at this, but for the Radiant I'd assume we have Morphling carry, Doom mid, Legion in the offlane, and Rubik and Veno as the 4 and the 5, though I couldn't quite guess which way round that's going, but actually it looks like it might in fact be definitely Doom mid. Rubik and Veno, I honestly couldn't tell. They're clearly both supports, but I couldn't tell which lane they're going towards. Maybe Veno 5 would make more sense. I prefer Rubik as a 4. He likes to have a bit of freedom, some XP, and a bit of gold. Hero really does well with a few items. Meanwhile, for the Dire, we have a tiny Darkseer lane, a Lion Terrorblade, and a Puck in the mid lane. In terms of the carry matchup, it's not immediately obvious who comes out ahead. Morphling has a lot of magical nuke, and Terrorblade is susceptible to magical nuke, but at the same time, if you don't kill the Terrorblade, say he picks up his Skadi and is slightly too tanky, you nuke him, then he sunders you, and then all of a sudden you've basically suffered your own combo. I could also right-click wise, both heroes have quite a lot of armor. The difference being Morphling only gets either health or armor, whereas Terrorblade gets health and armor once he builds his big items. Mostly Skadi. Skadi is really the tank item that comes to mind when I think of Terrorblade. So I could see this carry matchup being pretty even, going either way. Mid lane, Doom Puck. That's fine for both heroes until 6, and on 6 Puck dies to Doom. That's sort of what I'd expect. Obviously, if you take away Puck's spells, he isn't much of a hero. That's assuming Doom takes his ult at 6, I suppose. You almost certainly would, but perhaps he's feeling exceptionally greedy. On player perspective, that'll do for the moment. Tiny trying to get some really fast deep lane ward. We'll see how that comes into perspective later, but meanwhile up top, let's have a look at the Legion's perspective. Yeah, just guarding the runes and chilling out. But no, back to the middle lane. Doom can't really harass out a Puck. I don't think Puck can harass out a Doom with all the Devour regen. So very much a trading farm lane. I think the difference will be in the rotations. Puck certainly will have a much easier time rotating earlier in the game. Naturally does a lot of damage with its kit and can blow up people who are in the side lanes with a level advantage. If he gets a good power rune, he can easily just pop over, kill someone, be back in the lane before you know it, whereas Doom does a lot of damage eventually. Let's move over to free camera, pull the last hits up. Does a lot of damage eventually, but takes much longer to get online. His real strength is he just accumulates gold, and he accumulates a lot of gold for the amount of space he takes up. So as we see this mid lane at the beginning, Doom wins the block, but it'll pretty much immediately push into the Puck's tower. But it may actually bounce back out again, depending on whether the Puck wants to pull it under tower, which he will. So it'll be a non-static wave. This, I believe, I would assume it favors the Doom. It just means less harass overall. Moving waves are generally, as I understand it, harder to get consistent harass in than static waves. But even then, the Doom won't really care about harass when he has 2 points in Devour. Even just 1 gives him 2 extra regen, but level 2 is 6. But now let's jerk the camera over to another area where we see Terrorblade and Lion duking it out. Oh wow, I missed First Blood. I'm not very good at this. Darkseer probably just overcommitted. But we see Terrorblade and Lion duking it out with a Rubik. And, oh, I forgot Legion Commander's name. That's not very good. Meta committed quite late, actually. Which is interesting. Or maybe it was committed really early, I missed it, and then it's come back off cooldown. But I would assume it's been committed very late. And Lion and Rubik duking it out, but Lion manages to get a salve off at the last second. Terrorblade comes in, adds a single right click to the trade, and will bring down the Rubik. Unfortunately not First Blood, that honor goes to the Morphling. Interesting trade, actually. Never considered using a salve during my Hex Spike combo as a Lion. But I would like to touch on this lane briefly. It's horrible. It's horrible for a Terrorblade. Fade Bolt and Overwhelming Odds are a massive magical nuke this early in the game. Late game, they're not too huge. Fade Bolt holds up reasonably well, but Overwhelming Odds kind of falls off pretty hard. Except maybe against except against heroes that like PL that spawn a lot of illusions, in which case you can kind of rack up the damage still, or beast, zoo lineups, though we don't see many of them anymore. But right now, these two spells do an enormous amount of damage for Terrorblade's tiny HP pool. As we can see, he's already pretty much dry on regen, and he isn't bringing up more. He's getting a stick, but that's not really. The return on investment per spell on the stick is not really going to favour him, but still, it's something. It'll be a difficult lane. Certainly possible, however, even in quite a weak lane as a Terrorblade, you can get a lot out of it, and then you can immediately fall back to the jungle. So I wouldn't be too worried, even if I was getting heavily pressured. The real concern is this man on the Morphling. I suppose he could also be. It could also be a girl or one of the other ones that I'm told exist. That's pretty. That's not very PC of me, but I hope you understand what I'm getting at. Either way, moving swiftly onwards. Another mute for the Legion Commander to disconnect while I whiffle? Wax. That's the one. Wax philosophical about this game. But I think waffle philosophical is definitely a more fun way of saying it, so I might do that from now on. Maybe even whiffle. Either way. Morph now has level 2 an attribute shift. Very hard to sort of dislodge. Darkseer, being the core in this lane, used to be a hero that would just cut waves and could just play behind the enemy's towers, with the inability to aggro creeps before 5 minutes until they come in range, roughly in range of the tier 1. That playstyle has been relatively curtailed, but still a very strong hero. Ion Shell is a powerful spell. But he does seem to be getting very frustrated by the Venomancer. Gale might actually... No, he has a surge to get away, but just taking permanent... Oh no, he's dead. Slightly oversteps, cuts just slightly too close into the tower range. Very unfortunate. But taking constant right-click harass from a Venomancer is never particularly fun. Poison, Sting, it hurts. It hurts. When you're just getting right-clicked the whole time, it really hurts. And now we go up top and see a nice, lovely freeze frame. Let's try and put it into... What's the view? Can I go into that view? Yes, I can. Now, can I move the camera around? No, I can't. Either way, let's have a look at this from Rubik's point of view. He doesn't look very happy, does he? Can I have a free camera in this mode? No, I can't. That's a shame. But either way, Rubik is absolutely dead. Hard to say if that was the rotation from the Tiny. Certainly couldn't have hurt. I'm just having a bit of fun with the camera. And I really hope, despite my deep-rooted fears that my voice is about as enjoyable to listen to as radio static, I hope, well, you know what, I hope people are into radio static. I'm sure somebody enjoys it. But I truly hope it's not true, much as I think this lion hopes that this legion will leave him alone. And it looks like she just might. No mana on the Tiny, and meta is ending, so probably nothing more to come of this. But a quick fairy fire to keep lion alive. In terms of... it's gone okay for Terrorblade, certainly. He could have gotten a lot less out of this lane, but it's not ideal. But it turns out the mid matchup seems pretty Doom favoured. I assumed that perhaps Puck would still get his out of the lane. Doom didn't actually take Doom at 6 or 7, as I suggested that he might not. Hooray! Score 1 for the analysis. You know, one against about 50 at this point, but we'll take what we can get. He's there for the rune. Doesn't get anything. Rubik gets it from top, but either way, Puck gets nothing, gets no refill on the bottle. Certainly, I do feel like perhaps the Puck has been outplayed. A lot of... Not even that many denies on the Doom, actually. I thought perhaps he was leveraging the high base damage, but it seems like it's just, I'm going to sit here and Puck's going to be too scared to really trade, and I'm just going to harass him out. I suppose that's what's happened. Meanwhile, up top, it looks like a bit of a skirmish is going on. There is no meta at the moment. Quick Earth Spike picks up the Venomancer. Dream Coil snaps Legion's neck, and Rubik runs away with a quick salve, which can't be cancelled. I need to get faster. I need to inject the hype, though. These are not particularly intense confrontations at the moment. But Doom running down the Tiny behind the tier 1 tower. That is a 6-level disparity. I don't think... Well, that is a 5-level disparity. This game really conspiring to make everything I say completely incorrect. Doom finally has picked up Doom at level 8 and is now a real threat to actually killing this Puck. Previously, you're not going to kill a Puck without Doom. But I suppose he didn't really care enough to rotate to the side lanes. Everyone's doing okay, so he can just play greedy. And as you can see, as a result of him playing greedy, he has drums and he's steaming towards Blink Dagger already. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pick this up before 11-12 minutes. Doom onto the Puck, and now he's going to chase him down with Scorched Earth. A quick clap, and now just a couple of whacks. The Puck already dead. Merely a matter of time now. It is a bit of a surprise to me that he decided not to do that at level 6, but maybe, or at the very least level 7. Level 7 you're going to have max Devour. I don't know if the extra points in Scorched Earth are worth not taking Doom. But speaking of Doom, Tiny is about to meet his. Morphling made the rotation. Morphling having had a really stonking game. Let's have a look at the net worth. Oh boy, this looks a bit one-sided already when you have a 6k net worth lead just off of lanes. Dreamcoil onto the Legion Commander, might be able to find it, but there's no Finger of Death on the line just yet, and Doom is here chasing down this Puck, who manages to jump into the middle of them with silence, but orbs out the side, just barely getting the TP away on the Lion before he can get caught. This will be them ceding the tier 1 tower. Puck, not having any way to actually get out, decides to feed. Perhaps it wasn't a feed, perhaps it was well timed as the rest of his team rotates in. Darkseer trying to get the body blocks on the Doom. Hex finally comes out, but even in the Hex, Doom is one speedy boy. Tiny has a toss, doesn't toss him back, but will just toss him off to his death. Well, I was assuming this was going to snowball, honestly, from a very strong laning stage. But it seems like Dire might actually have a chance still. TB starting to recover in the jungle, going the hard farming build of straight Yasha. Perhaps would have been nice to see another Wraithband. Does have Iron Talons, which speed up his farming quite a bit. Especially with those Ancients, if he takes them out of his backpack at some point. There we go. Would have perhaps been nice to see another Wraithband to maybe speed up the farming and get a little bit more out of the lane, but that is relatively unimportant. I don't know. Let's talk about more important things, like this Tiny getting run down by Legion. Will you commit the duel? Yes. Is under tower, isn't going to matter. But the Lion manages to prevent the duel actually going down, and with a quick Avatos combo, Legion pays for her hubris. It was certainly a bit deep to go for the duel. The real concern this game is this Morphling. He is going Lincoln's first. I don't quite see why. I suppose Finger and Hex. Hex is actually probably the bigger issue. If he gets hexed from trees, they can then follow up with a load of stuff if he's caught full agi. But even then, I think just don't sit as low. Lincoln's doesn't really give you that much in the way of playing the game, whereas, you know, E-Blade will allow you to just kill this Terrorblade over and over again. But you know what? He definitely knows more than I do about the game and about Morphling, so I'll trust the judgment for the moment. Meanwhile, Tiny does get the toss back. Very powerful, overwhelming odds, but little odds of the Legion making it out of that one. Metamorphosis is popped, so no question about it. Dire smell a tier 1 tower. But the TP in from the Veno, and just the Veno coming in and being able to spam wards, will be just really annoying. Veno is very good at just sitting in a spot and stalling out a push. He's one of the best at it, I'd say. No Gale on him, which is fine. You often play Veno this way. If you can just get the more points in wards you get, the faster you can farm, and if you just sit in an area for long enough, you can do extremely well.
Break time's over, Jax.
But it does seem like with meta, it's hard to stop them sieging it. But Terrorblade does actually make the rotation towards top, and there isn't really enough damage on the Morphling yet to contest the Terrorblade. But without the TB here to try and pressure the tower, it becomes extremely hard to push into Veno wards, as we see Puck just getting atomized. Stepping out of position just slightly, and the blink on Doom is complete. Slightly later than I predicted, but still a 12-minute blink drums boots. It's pretty monstrous, considering he hasn't really been hard jungling or anything. Tiny finding kill onto the Rubik in the meantimes. A lot of damage comes out of a level 8 Tiny. Max damage. It's a nice timing. You have the most damage you're going to get out of your combo for the most part as a support. Really hoping the Puck jaunted there. Just insta combo. Wait, no, the Puck's on the Tiny's team. Scratch that last thought. Tiny surged up, gonna just yeet a Veno, and out comes the zap from the Lion. Starting to build up those finger stacks, which probably will not actually have an effect, but I will mention it anyway. Meanwhile, Dire desperate to pick up this tier 1, while Morphling is able to play the opposing jungle. The perfect place for a carry to be. And just start to skyrocket and farm. They have shrunk the net worth lead down for... However, it's still sitting now comfortably at a 4K, and that's split really, but a big part of that is the disparity in the mid laners. You can't really expect a puck who's having a middling game to really contest a Doom who has a built-in hand of Midas. It's quite hard. He ramps up very quickly, gets just so much gold automatically that it becomes hard to contest. But contest they shall try to do. Commitment forward with the Tiny, blows up the Morphling in an instant. Silence and Dream Coil onto the Doom, and they'll find both with 4 TPs into that tier 2 tower to defend. As Legion immediately starts to run away. Back off. Does not want a piece of this. A little bit slow on the Morphling. They saw a TP from the... I think they only saw the Darkseer TP coming in there, but even then, I think that there's a good reason to be suspicious. It would be very suicidal for just Darkseer to turn up. So I think perhaps sitting on full Agi is... it's greedy. Certainly. And Lincoln's didn't really save him there. He did get popped. Could have saved him from the toss, but it got popped. Legion going for the duel underneath the tower. Morphling turning up allows the victory. And snipes a courier on the way out.
Impressive ineptitude, really.
I'm still not sold on this Lincoln Sphere. I'm really not. It feels overly cautious. If the Doom was on the other team, I'd completely understand. But you have the Doom, Morph. Finger ain't that scary if you just a little more conservative with the strength shift. Legion not going for a blink this game. Certainly understandable. You have the Doom for blink initiation. You have Morphling to just run at them. You're not too important. You have drums. The only particularly hard to grab target is the puck, but you have a Doom. It's not absolutely vital that you go on him. And Morphling once again is not respecting the Tiny, and the blink reveal will result in his death as he's sitting once again pretty much full Agi. But the Tiny might not go down in response. The rest of the team comes in, the Wall of Replica goes up, Venomoth turns up, gets Dream Coiled, and will be going down here, but does get the Gale off, doesn't catch everyone, only catches 2. And very, very good trade for the Dire. They've managed to turn this one around by punishing Morphling Greed. I've been harping on this for a while now, but this Morphling's itemization does not strike a chord with me. He's picked up this Lincoln's to be defensive, and then it's actually not saved him even once because Tiny doesn't care. Tiny does not care at all. You know, you would have been much better served picking up the E-Blade and playing aggressive, just making sure you were always ahead of this Terrorblade by killing him over and over again. E-Blade combo is going to kill Terrorblade most of the time if you get it, you know, at a good rate. Or instead of that, you could go for a proper defensive item that gives you some HP to tank through it. But do you need to build HP on a Morphling? No, you just sit at a higher strength. Yes, it'll slow down your farming a little, but I would argue dying constantly slows your farming down even more. Toss back into a meted Terrorblade. Goodbye, Venomancer. And the Dire are finally picking up some steam. If there's anything I know about trains, it's that it's not a great idea to get in front of one when they're moving. When they're still, it's fine. Dream Coil onto the Doom after a toss back, and he will fall. Literally. Onto his face. Need to come up with some new ways of describing death and just using things in this game. You know, pop, commit, use. Little unimaginative, I think.
Radiant are scanning for enemies.
Nice little play there to give the carry your bottle, so he can then take a double damage rune and just hold on to it. What a great piece of analysis, if I do say so myself. The bottle lets you hold onto a rune. Incredible scenes. Okay, I'm not on my A game. Or maybe I am. I hope this isn't my A game. This is my A game. I got a lot of work to do. I hope my voice is alright. I do sound a bit... it does feel a bit, you know, croaky in the throat. Not karaoke. That would be something very different. I'd be honoured. But anyway, Legion found by the puck. Actually tanks through remarkably well with the full stick, but does get brought down in the end. Doom getting involved. No meta on the Terrorblade, so it is not an ideal time for the Dire to fight. And Doom was thrown down to no avail. So maybe it is a good time for them to fight, though perhaps they probably have time to wait for meta to come up. As soon as meta's up, they can probably just run at a tower, force fight, no Doom. Means Puck has a pretty free time of it, as long as he isn't caught in a duel. He, she, I don't actually know when it comes to Puck. I've got one of those voices that could be either, or something else entirely. Yeah, I guess he is a bit of a fairy dragon thing. It's, I don't know. They might have their own ways of doing things. Doom tries to pick up the haste rune, but Tiny is there with the toss to vaguely annoy him. Double damage has been timed out, and you have meta up. If you ever wanted to take a fight, I think now is really the time to do it. You have Dreamcore, you have meta, you have a double damage. Or you could go Roche. I think those are your two options, and it looks like they're going to go for the fight. Rubik instantly killed, Tiny finding him at the start of the fight. Meta is committed, and Legion sucked up onto the cliff. They have to actually put a ward down so Terrorblade can see it in order to beat into it. But speaking of beating into it, that snake has been rattled. Venomancer falls. That did not make any kind of sense, but I said it anyway. Now they'll know they're going into the pit just as the double damage rune wears off, with that nice little ward that's just been removed from the outside of the Roche pit, but there's nothing they can do about it. Wow, that is a massive ion shell. Oh, very neat. Ion shell's bigger than Puck. Doom does jump into the pit. Doom will probably not make it out of the pit. It does actually make it out of the pit. You know, a step. So, gotta hand it to him. Terrorblade decides Lion's HP would be better served on him, and so decides to make it so. Morphling tries to jump in and steal the Aegis. Morphling dies. Lincoln Sphere doing him a world of good. All I'm saying is, the Radiant try and re-engage, and once again feed. That poison has had its antidote found, and as Venomancer's usefulness starts to curtail a little, Tiny coming into his own, finding pick after pick. You know, I've harped on it already, and I'm going to keep going, because a harp is a lovely instrument, and more people should learn how to play it. But more importantly, this Lincoln Sphere on the Morphling feels completely useless. It feels like, I think it's 5,000 gold. It doesn't say in here. No, almost 5,000 gold of just does nothing. We saw just a second ago how strong that E-Blade combo is against a Terrorblade. A Terrorblade who is quite ahead. A Terrorblade with a Skadi. He may have got that after the fight, actually. I'm not entirely sure. But imagine if this Morph had an E-Blade at the time he had a Lincoln's, and they'd taken a fight, and somebody just dies instantly. That's a very different game. Speaking of a different game, we're about to see the same one play out. Wall of Vacuum onto the entire team, and a Dream Coil onto all of them. There's no meta, but it doesn't seem to matter. The Darkseer puts them all in one place, lines them up on a T, and Terrorblade knocks it to a hole in one. Yeah, this is starting to look really hard for the Radiant, despite a very strong start.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Really, really difficult. There's an Aegis on the Puck, I believe, because the Morphling did at least force the Aegis to go onto the worst of the two options. Still not bad. You know, I suppose you got to take the bright side. Meta now committed. I wouldn't be surprised if they just ended. It seems like the Radiant have kind of given up. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe they were waiting for their opportunity. They do smoke. Was there smashing into the racks? And where's Doom gone? Where's Doom gone? Where's Morphling? Seriously, where did Doom go? The Jewel goes down onto the Terrorblade, but it just doesn't matter. The Glimmercoat keeps him safe. He almost falls, gets the Sunder off, back to full HP. Game is over, ladies and gentlemen. And others. They have backdoor protection, so it's going to take a little bit longer, but they can force backdoor at this point. Seriously, where did that Doom go? He was there, and then he wasn't. I didn't even realise they had that much burst damage on that team. I guess he got caught in the tiny combo, plus everything else. The other team begging for them to end, but no, the Dire, they're not happy about how this game started. They want the Radiant to feel the pain of getting very slowly megaed in 3 lanes.
Don't look too scared of
When most of the tier 2s are still standing, so we might be here slightly longer. But this game seems pretty much decided, and I really do put it all down to this terrible itemization on the Morphling. What does a Lincoln Sphere do? Nothing. You still die over and over again to just tiny, or tiny +1. Like, it doesn't solve your survivability issues, and that's the only reason you'd ever buy a Lincoln's. Like, why would you go Lincoln's first item? Because you need to survive, and there's a spell that you can't afford to be put on you. Whereas if you go E-Blade, or you go, you know, an item that lets you do some sort of damage or farm, then you can actually really threaten this opposing lineup very early on. But if you don't, you end up here in your fountain, Dream Coiled, as a Terrorblade just slowly whacks on your base. That's an interesting. Didn't realise the Crimson Guard was a bunch of circles making up a sphere. I also didn't realise it applied to buildings. Looks a bit funky when you see it like this. Unsure what they're planning on. They do finally break the Aegis. Morphling walks out and then TP's back. I don't know. Almost gets sniped by the illusory orb there. Puck managing to just disjoint the E-Blade combo, and that's that. As that's all she wrote. The Fat Doom is singing.